Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carol Patnaude, and I am a professor of early childhood ed in the Department of Human Services. I'm also the department chair, so I teach 2 courses a semester because I am doing work in the department for faculty and scheduling and meetings and different projects that I work on. So I am a graduate of CCRI of the Human Services Department that I'm now the chair of. I graduated probably before everybody on this meeting was born. I graduated from CCRI, which at the time was RIJC, Rhode Island Junior College, and graduated in the Human Services Department with my associates in early childhood ed. I then went on to Rhode Island College for my bachelor's and master's degree. For the first part of my profession, I co-owned a preschool for children ages 3 through 5 in Warwick and did that for 24 years, which was just an amazing career that I loved every minute of, and actually had 2 of my preschool children as college students at CCRI. So it really came, yeah, it was really cool. It really came
Wow,
full
yeah.
circle. So I had lots of fun stories to share about the students when they were little. So I started teaching part-time at CCRI in 1990 and taught one course, basically one course a semester until 2005 when I was hired as a full-time faculty member, again in human services in the concentration of early childhood ed. And then became department chair in 2013. So I can say that I truly never envisioned my path to become chair of the department at CCRI, in which I graduated from. It's just an amazing honor and privilege that I get to be in this position every single day and work with amazing faculty throughout the college and students and staff and participate in that community effort. So I do teach early childhood courses. That is my area of expertise. In the Human Services Department, we have different concentrations. So one concentration is early childhood ed, and that concentration is for those individuals who want to work with children ages birth through 8 in a variety of settings. And then we have an special education concentration. Again, that's for individuals who want to work with children or adults, and the age span for special education is birth through age 21. And that includes careers, which I'll talk about in a minute, in a variety of areas. And our third concentration is social services. So that's the main concentration, but we break it down into 4 components. So one of the concentrations is gerontology, another is mental health, another is social work, and another is substance use. So those are the concentrations that make up the Human Services Department. We also have, in addition to the associate degree programs that we offer, we have 3 opportunities for students to participate in a certificate program. One is the Early Childhood Education Certificate, which is comprised of all early childhood courses. It's a 24 credit program, 8 courses. And then we have a social services certificate, which is comprised of 15 credits, 5 courses. And then we have our recent certificate is a gerontology certificate. And that certificate is comprised of 18 credits. So that's a little bit about the department and the concentrations. I'll stop here, Professor, in the event that you have questions or that there are people in the meeting that have particular questions.
Okay.
I'm happy to
I'll
pause.
start. I'll start and then we'll go from there. Also, I forgot to introduce myself. Please forgive me. I'm Professor Jana Nib. I'm a professor in the social science department. I teach sociology, but I'm a guided pathways navigator, and my two areas of concentration are environment and sustainability, and also education, government, and human services. And so that's why I'm so glad that we got Professor Patnaude here today to talk about the program. My first question, you answered some of my questions. So the classes that you teach, your discipline, what I want to know, or what to help students sort of get an idea of what it means to be a person in this pathway or in this discipline, is what drew you to this field? What drew you to become an early childhood educator, right? And you're educating people for their careers in early childhood education. So what drew you to that?
Well, I'm, I guess, one of the fortunate ones that always knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a teacher. And so it was just my passion. I have to say, from when I was little, that's all I did was play school and
Me too.
check out the family books as library books.
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah, me too.
Find my siblings if they return the book late. I had a huge chalkboard in my in my basement, and it was just part of who I am. So I can honestly say that I really never questioned my career.
Okay.
I can say that when I finished at CCRI and I went on to Rhode Island College, that I thought, I'm not sure that I want to be in early childhood in a center-based type of a classroom, but I really want to be in public school. I want to be a public school first grade teacher. So when I co-owned my school, I took a year off, wanting to begin to sub and get into the public school system. And that lasted probably for, I'd say, less than a week. I realized right away that it was not the setting, it was not where I wanted to be. Although I thought, again, from childhood, I want to be a first grade teacher. I want to be just like the first grade teacher I had. So because we had hired a substitute in my place in my business, I had to, stay where I was and substitute teach for the rest of the year, which for me was very stressful. It was a good learning opportunity. I can't say it wasn't, because I got to meet a lot of people and see a lot of different curriculums and classrooms and whatnot. But after that, I knew it wasn't for me and went back to my own program.
That's the reality. Yeah. I was going to say, it's the reality and the benefit of having the degree that you had, because you weren't going to be hard up for a job, so to speak. You had a career path.
Yes.
That you could move into the first grade. You could go back into the, into the very early childhood, like you could go back and forth. Like when you were like, oh, not first grade, you could go back. And I think that's something that's really cool about, having that, going on that path and and earning that certification and that certification to do that. Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry, you were gonna say.
No, I was just saying in trying it out, because it's really what I thought I always wanted, but then, come to find out that wasn't the setting I wanted to be in. But I often in speaking to my students in my own courses or in doing advisement, as in my role as department chair for students, regardless of their concentration, I always say to them, it's okay to not know. How do we at age 18, for example, upon graduation from high school, know exactly what we want to do? And who says we have to do it for the rest of our life? It's okay. And it's okay to try out different career paths until you find the one that you are passionate about. So I support students in that and try to help them not stress so much about it, because, it was my experience. Oftentimes people think this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
And it may not be that particular pathway. Well, it may not be that particular career in the pathway. It's the right
Right.
pathway, but
Right.
I realize that I don't want to work in a public school setting, but I want to work in a child care center. I want to
Right.
work, as a child life specialist in a hospital. I want to
Right.
work,
Right.
at the Children's Museum, et
Yep.
cetera. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
it's different avenues.
It sets you up for a lot of different things.
Mhm,
So now that I said it sets you up for a lot of different things, like, yeah, you're ready to go. My
mhm,
next question is, what kind of students
mhm,
excel in this program, in human services? What do students have to keep in mind when
mhm.
they enter the program to really be successful in the program?
Sure. One thing that comes to mind is passion. You
Okay.
really have to be passionate, in my opinion, about working with people. It's definitely a
Oh,
people-oriented
yes.
profession. You probably wouldn't want to be the person that, kind of sits back and doesn't participate in meetings, or, kind of is shy about collaborating with people and having social skills and that kind of thing, because no matter, again, what your concentration is, you are going to be working with people in various capacities. So I would say passion. Um, I would say that part of your fire is also that you want to be, you're someone who wants to be a change agent in making a difference for people, for the community, for families, for children, for clients. So I think that's really important. Compassion, being
Yes.
a people person again, and knowing that you want to be part of a solution, part of like a bigger circle. It's kind of like that ripple effect where you
Yeah.
toss the pebble in and
Right.
ripples occur, and you're part of that.
Right.
You're part of that ripple.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
really
So lastly, you mentioned some of the careers, but
important.
what other, can you think of any other careers that students in this path can go on to after
Absolutely.
they finish? Yeah, after they complete
Sure.
their school training. Yeah.
Sure. So because early childhood is my area of expertise, I'll talk about that first. So there are different options that people in the early childhood pathway can take in terms of their career. One is to work in a child care center, a licensed child care center, or a family child care home. If that's a pathway that you want to open your own business, you could do that. You could, in certain school districts in the state, you can become employed as a teacher assistant in a public school setting, which is a really advantageous pathway as well. You could work in after-school programs. You could work in settings like a children's museum, for example, alternative settings. You can be a lead teacher in a childcare classroom. You could also, depending on the credits that you have, be part of what we would say would be an administrative path. In education, special education, I polled my faculty earlier today to ask them this question. So for education, special education, Dr. Jackson talked about, again, students becoming involved as a teacher assistant in a special ed setting, okay, going back to work with children and youth and adults aged birth to 21. You could work in an agency with people with disabilities, centers, and then go on to a 4-year path. In
Mhm.
social services, there are lots of opportunities because of the 4 concentrations. So some of the options in social service would include intake personnel in an agency,
Okay.
direct care, companion care for people who want to work with elders. In the social services, you could also, social work pathway, you could also work as a coordinator in, say, an after-school program. You could become a mental health worker in the psychiatric units with a CNA, so you would go on to do that as well. You could be a resident counselor with adolescents. In substance use, this is an opportunity where you could become what's called a certified peer recovery specialist. And Rhode Island offers free certification programs to be able to take that next step in addition to your associates. You can become a licensed chemical dependency professional, also licensed through Department of Health. A community health worker, that's a really huge thrust that's happening right now in human services. Community health workers is big. And again, you could get an additional certification in Rhode Island. And then finally, you could take your associate's degree in any of your degrees in the concentrations and transfer to a 4-year institution. And that would lead you to other opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, that was a really good,
lot going on,
an exhaustive list. Yeah. Oh, that was good. Yeah. So now, because there were things in there that I didn't think about, and then when you said it, I was like, of course. Okay, so I'm going to now open up the floor for the students, and if anybody has a question, they can place it in the chat, or they can unmute themselves and go ahead and ask Professor Patnaude the question directly.
Feel free.
Open up my chat so I can see it.
And I just want to say also, Professor Nib, is that our faculty are always happy to meet with students who are interested in any of our concentrations.
Great.
Through email or through what we know, now to be virtual.
Yeah.
To talk about pathways, or some students may have credits from other departments or programs they were in, to see how maybe they could switch their major. So
yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah, or how they may, the whatever conjunction, or yeah. Okay, well, gonna maybe give a little bit more time and then see. I know, okay. Can this path, so Evelyn is asking, can this path strengthen communication?
Hi, Evelyn. I would say definitely. And the areas of communication really vary. So if you were in an educational setting, for example, one of the things that you would need to do is to participate, for example, in IEP meetings, if it's a special education program, or parent caregiver meetings, talking about children's, assessment, what's happening with them, that kind of thing. In social work and social services, communication is key. And although people in our state have differing, qualifications, so to speak, when it comes to communication, there are different ways that we communicate now. We communicate virtually, as we've all come to realize. We communicate, in written, in written ways, through email, etc. And the other thing is that oftentimes in human services, we work in partnership with other people, so that oftentimes we're collaborating, like we're doing today, and work in partnership. So, I think that's something to think about, and to know that it's not a stopping ground for somebody who is interested in the pathway, but maybe English is not their first language, for example. There's definitely a need in the state for workers in different fields who are bilingual in a variety of languages.
And multilingual, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that in a lot of sessions that I've attended throughout the time that I've been a professor,
Mhm.
when we reach out to industry and we're like, well, what do you all need? And they're like, multilingual people, please and
You're
thank
right.
you. So
You're
yeah,
right. Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
It's
that's, and it was great to ask this question about communication
a
skills,
great
especially
question.
in this pathway. Yeah, because
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
want people who have good communication skills, written, oral, interpersonal,
Mhm.
institutional. So all of that, to an air of, especially in social sciences, you got to have that professionalism.
That's
Even
for
when
sure.
people,
That's for
even when
sure.
people needle you, you have to maintain it. Yeah.
You do.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, if no one has any further questions, I'm going to wrap it up here. Would you mind sharing your email in the chat,
Oh,
Professor,
sure.
so that if students wanted to reach out to you, they
Absolutely.
could?
Anytime.
And I'm also going to share mine because I haven't done that all day. In case anyone has a question
Mhm.
or concern, I can direct them to the right place to get for I can direct them to the correct place for guided pathways if they have any questions. I saw this person, but I don't remember. I can help. I can help with that.
And
Okay, so
Evelyn, excuse
okay,
me,
go ahead.
I'm
No, it's
sorry.
fine.
I just see
Yes.
that, Evelyn, you say that you're majoring in foreign languages. That that's really fabulous, because again, there are opportunities for language learners, and in all of the different concentrations, not only in one particular, not only in social services.
Right.
We saw that happen with COVID this year, in hospital settings, for example. So
Yes.
that,
True.
that's a great combination.
Very true. Very
Gianna,
true.
you have a question?
Oh, yes, please, Gianna, go ahead.
Yes,
Hi,
this is
Gianna.
hi. This is my first year doing human services because I just transferred out of another major I was in because it was too hard. So I
Mhm.
decided to do this major because I want to work in a special ed setting.
Okay, great. That's great. So I will, have you taken any human service courses yet, Gianna?
No, but I'm planning to take it in the summer.
Okay, so I'm going to, in the chat right now, I'm going to put in the email address of Dr. Lynn Jackson. And Dr. Jackson is the professor in the Human Services Department that teaches the special education courses. So if you want to email her at your convenience, she will be happy. Just tell her that you were in the pathway group this afternoon. She knows about what we were doing today, and that you would like to talk to her about the special education program at CCRI, and she can guide you in the right direction. She can map out your courses. She can talk to you about career opportunities. If you've taken courses in another department, they may substitute into our department,
True.
which
Very
is
true.
really important. So I urge you
Yes.
to contact her before you take classes that maybe you didn't need to take. Welcome.
True. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. As with all of our sessions for this Path Day, you can go to www.ccri.edu/pathways/path days to see the recordings. There's also additional material. There's path days in this pathway, but with other faculty members that you can meet, and we'll be bringing more faculty and program information about this pathway to you all in the coming months when we do our next Path Days. Also, I wanted to mention the virtual job fair that's being held by Career Services. It's being hosted on April 14th on Handshake, and it's going to be from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. If you want to find out more information about it, you can go to Career Services here at the CCRI website. You can type in virtual job fairs in the search bar and you can find out more about it that way. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you.